All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Mr. Linhart.
And Ms. Georgiadis.
And we are counselors at Buffalo Grove High School. And today what we're going to do is we are going to talk about your course request for next year. Because believe it or not, in a week, maybe a little over a week for some of you, you're going to be coming down to Student Services. You're going to be meeting with your counselor. And we're going to start looking at what classes would be good for you for not only next year, but we're going to start making what's called a 4-year plan, where we're going to look at the rest of high school and kind of see what classes we should take, what's going to look good for our career pathway, what's going to really benefit us for life after BG. So we got a bunch of stuff we're going to go through. We're going to ask that you follow along with us, that you don't jump ahead. I do recommend right now, if you don't have the Counselor Schoology page open, to have that open or get that open while Ms. Georgiadis talks about the blue sheet.
So last week, you guys received a blue sheet from your teachers. It looks like this. What it really is don't worry too much about it. It's mostly for electives. So if you're in an elective now, for example, health careers, if you were in that elective, your teacher can sign off and give you what elective you would be taking next year.
All right, awesome. So this is the blue sheet you got. If you didn't turn it in yet, I recommend you do talk to your elective teachers and get it in your account. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go to Schoology. So go to the Schoology page. This is the Counselor's Schoology page. Once you get there, you're going to see a bunch of folders. Today, we are going to live in the black folder, the course selection and registration information. Right there, you're going to click on Freshman. And the first thing we're going to look at is the registration booklet. So please click on that. And Ms. Georgiadis is going to tell us about the registration booklet. Oh, there you go.
So this booklet has everything from your core classes to electives. It talks all about the different courses we offer. So, excuse me. So we're going to go through it together, and we'll create your 4-year course plan and your 8-period classes for next semester. But what I want to focus on now is just let's, for example, take English. So right here shows the 2 options that you're in for English now. But all of you are either in written and oral comm or honors written oral comm. So let's say I am in written and oral comm. Next year, I'm going to be in world literature and composition. So this just shows you kind of a flow of what you will be taking for the next 4 years.
So now, what Ms. Georgiadis is going to talk about is, I'm going to talk about it. We're going to talk about electives. So right here, this is a good example. This is the career and technical ed page. What's really cool about this is you're going to be hearing a lot, if you haven't already, about these career pathways that we follow. We've noticed that school's a little more enjoyable when we have a plan, when we are thinking about what we want to do and how we could kind of customize your schedule for you. So for example, if I want to be an educator, I'm looking at the education pathway and I'm looking at some courses that fall into place there. Some of them are what's called prereqs, and you got to take them before others, but if you know you're interested in education, you definitely let your counselor know. And we have this flow chart for the different pathways that let us know what the order you should take some classes in. If you want to get ahead in Schoology, there's I don't know if it's in the freshman folder yet, but I could add it. There is it's in booklets, and we're going to go over the different folders. There's something called the District 214 Career Pathway Handbook, and what you could do is look at what pathway you're interested in, and it's going to show you a plethora of information, like what classes you should take here, what clubs you should consider here, what are some majors you could do. So it's really good. I've a lot of students I've worked with have found it helpful. If you want to look for it on your own, you could just Google D214 Career Pathways, and it's the first Google result that comes up after you search. So we're going to stay in Schoology, and Ms. Georgiadis is going to tell us about the next page. This page is really important. We're going to fill it out together.
Okay, so while you guys are still in that black folder under freshman course selection and registration, go ahead and click Frosh BJHS course selection. Okay. Once you're on here, we're going to do this together, so don't fill anything out. Don't fill anything out without us doing it together. But in the beginning, this is your graduation requirements. Don't worry too much about this. Your counselor is going to go through this with you to make sure you're on track. Your core subjects, we will handle that. The only two things I really want to point out is that fine arts requirement. Let's say you're in band right now, you're meeting the fine arts requirement. The other thing is the consumer ed requirement. So you do have to take a consumer ed class here at BG. If you're a freshman right now, you might be in personal finance. That is fulfilling the requirement. Intro to business, econ.
That's not for freshmen.
There's a few options, yeah. And we can you can go through that with your counselor, but those are just two things to keep in mind when you're creating your schedule. The next thing Mr. Linhart can go over is your career interests.
So as I said, this is going to be something big for us. This is going to help us really just customize a schedule for you. You know, like freshman, sophomore year is really more prescriptive, meaning that, for lack of a better term, you're kind of told for the most part what classes you have to take. As you get to junior, senior year, we get to customize it a little bit. We get to make it something that's going to suit your needs. And the best way for us to do it is to do these this career interest. And first off, you need to let us know what you're planning on doing after graduation. This is the same as what you answered in the blue profile sheet for us. And then your career interest. Now, some of you might be saying, okay, wait a minute, Linhart, I am 14, maybe 15 years old. How am I supposed to know what I want to do for the rest of my life? Ms. Georgiades, did you know what you wanted to do freshman year of high school?
Nope.
And I had an idea, but it changed. But I do know it would have helped me to know what I wanted to do so that I could kind of expose myself to stuff in that area. If it wouldn't have, you know, the best outcome is that you take some classes in your chosen pathway. They're awesome. You figure out, yep, this is what I want to do. The next best thing, or what I call the silver medal, is that you explore a pathway and you realize, you know what, no, this really isn't for me. Let's figure it out while the school's paying for it before you start paying for it after BG. So under career interests, I kind of went off on a rant there, but if you don't have a career that you're 100% interested in, Ms. Georgiades, what should they do?
Put your favorite subject or something you just like to do.
Yeah, let us know like what interests you, because we could probably then work with you and maybe discover a career pathway that would be interesting for you and make school a little more enjoyable. So the back side of this page, or I guess the second part of this page, is called your 4-year plan. This is also available in Infinite Campus, and your counselor either keeps a paper copy or a digital copy. But what this is this is going to help us plan out for the next 3.5 years. We're going to count this semester almost done. So you go through this. It tells you the electives in the middle you got to concentrate on. It shows the classes you have to take each year. And then, you know, as I kind of talked about, next year you have kind of 2 free periods that you could really have some flexibility on what you want to do. Now, if you're someone that is in a fine arts like band or choir or orchestra, and you're someone that takes a language like Spanish or French, your schedule is basically set. You don't got to worry too much about this. But as you could see, junior year, science class is physics, and it's recommended, not required. But basically, for the most part, if you're going to do something after high school, you want to take that. But then you could see potentially your schedule frees up to 3 periods you get to choose from. And then realistically, senior year, like you really only got to technically take PE and English, and then you got a lot of flexibility. So that's why these career pathways can really help us figure out what we want to do. Am I missing anything, Ms. Georgiades, that you can think of?
No, that's really it. But we'll focus more on what you're taking next year, and we'll fill this out all together.
Yeah, and we're going to fill this out because if you can go into your meeting with your counselor and have this for the most, ideally completely filled out, and a career interest, that's going to really make the conversation more about you and less clerical stuff. So that's why we're going to do it together. We're going to ask you to go step by step with us. So first thing we're going to do is upper right hand corner. We're going to click that. We're going to click that. And we're going to go to open or copy to Notability. Let's create a new note. And let's import it. Beautiful. And I think for the sake of everyone's sanity, we're going to have Ms. Georgiades do the writing because I have the world's worst penmanship, and you don't want to have to deal with that. So, so Ms. Georgiadis is going to write for us. Yeah, just keep in mind, Ms. Georgiadis, that the entire freshman class is going to be watching this, so don't mess it up. You nervous?
Yes.
Okay, and what we're going to do too is, Ms. Georgiadis, is if you could double click the home button and go back to Schoology. And if everyone could do this along with us, hit the back button and open up that registration booklet again. We're going to be using this as our reference. So we're going to be looking at the classes we're in for our core classes and kind of see what they lead into. So as Ms. Georgiadis said, we're going to use her as the example. She said, what English class were you in?
Written and oral comm.
So we can see that would lead in next year to
World literature and composition.
So Ms. Georgiadis, please go back to Notability, and you guys do this as well, and write in World. You could abbreviate it if you want. Yeah, just so you know what's going on. World Lit. Now we're going to give you guys, write it in both semesters. We're going to give 2 fingers and move over. There we go. We're going to give you guys a minute. You know, for some of you, it might not be World Lit. It might be honors. So put what your next class in the sequence could be. Okay? Now let's go back and math. Math is a tricky one. Math is the one where there is a plethora of different options you could go through. Ms. Georgiadis, I've heard you're pretty strong at math. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm in honors geometry.
So she's doing that honors geo life. And she had talked with her math teacher, and they're thinking that, you know, we're gonna go to the 80s track. So she would be in
Honors Algebra 2 AB.
So she's gonna go back to Notability. She's gonna do however she wants to abbreviate it. Basically, when you write this, it's so that you and your counselor know that what class you should be in. So now with this, Ms. Georgiadis, would you want to write the 80s after it, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to write the 80s. The only reason she's doing that is because of there's two classes called Honors Algebra 2, so we want to make sure that she knows which one she's in. So we're going to give you guys just a second to kind of get caught up in case we were going too fast. And she's going to clean up her sheet. Thank you. Oh, she was going to highlight? No, we're not highlighting right now. Okay. So let's go back. What is the next subject, Ms. Georgiadis?
Science.
Okay, and I'm going to assume, I'm not psychic. I'm close, but I'm not psychic. I'm going to assume that because you're strong at math, you're also probably pretty strong at science?
Yes, I'm in honors biology.
Okay, so now she's going to go back, and she is going to go to her sheet and write in honors bio or H-bio or HB, whatever is going to... Chem, excuse me. Let's go back to that sheet because I messed that up. We all make mistakes, right? Well, Ms. Georgiadis doesn't. She's perfect. But I make mistakes. So since she's in honors bio, what would you be in sophomore year?
Honors chemistry.
There we go. So honors chemistry. So she's going to write whatever she wants to write for her science class to let her know. So what she could do right there even, and hold up for a second, Ms. Georgiadis, since it already says chemistry, she could just write honors. Or honestly, if you are a person who is going to go the college prep chemistry and not honors, you could just leave it how it is. It's already done for you. Same thing with the world history. All right, so let's go back. How you feeling so far, Ms. Georgiadis?
Good.
Good. You feel like you got a good handle on what your schedule is going to be next year?
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, awesome. Hopefully some of you guys have class with her. Okay, so Ms. Georgiadis, I'm going to assume that we are in the college prep human geo. Is that accurate?
Correct. Regular human geo.
How do you feel about human geo?
I like human geo.
Good. Who's your teacher? Is it Mr. Peterson?
Mr. Peterson, it sure is.
Yeah, I heard he's nice. I heard he's good people. All right, so then what would your class be next year?
World history.
All right, and can you make that smaller? Okay, so I don't understand why. For the other ones, there were boxes. Why is that one got the triangle senior year, Ms. Georgiadis?
Because you have the option to take whatever class you want. There's a lot of electives for senior year for social science. It's not required, so you have the option to take whatever class you would like.
So I could just look at the top and see under social science 3 years. Okay, but we're kind of off track. What class you taking?
World history.
Okay, can you go back to your page, write that in, And you know what? You guys don't have to write it in black. You can write whatever color you want. She chose black, and you know what? She's already in world history, so she could write WH. She could write nothing. She could, whatever you got to do. All right, so here's where it gets interesting. Ms. Georgiadis, what's really cool about PE next year?
So next year, you guys have the option to take whatever PE class you want. The only thing that you'll have to take first semester is health.
Well, we're going to put it in first semester.
Yes.
You might take it second semester, but for the sake of this, what she's going to do is write in health. Everyone has to take health a semester in high school. And so we do it sophomore year. That's a state requirement. That's not just a BG requirement. So with the exception of the personal trainer class, you have to go a couple pages. The choices are almost endless for PE. So if we're looking up there, we have classes like athletic PE, we have advanced activities, orcuses,
dance.
Why'd you say dance? You're interested in dance?
That's what I want to take next year.
And what's if you do take dance, what's cool about that? I heard it's something that counselors say like double dip. What's that mean?
You also get a fine arts requirement.
Okay, so let's go back and put in dance. And then the next one is lunch. You do have the option to waive your lunch period if you want to pick up another class. I really try to talk my students out of it because I feel like you kind of need that break during the day to just kind of reset your memory and just kind of reset your brain and have some me time. But if you do want to do that, we're going to show you there is a form you could fill out with your counselor. So 7 and 8, those are the open periods. Ms. Georgiadis, are you taking a foreign language?
Yeah, I'm in Spanish 1.
Are you going to stay with it?
Yeah, I love Spanish.
So then what would you probably write in number 7? Say it in Spanish, please.
Español 2.
Nice. So she's going to write Spanish 2. And then right now, we got about 3 minutes left in the period, so we're going to kind of go through a little quickly. You would write that 8th period class. Your career interest. Do you have a career interest yet? What do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a nurse.
Okay, so maybe under career interest, write nurse. And write down that you're going to go to a 4-year school because you do want to get your education. So check that box. All right. And the 4-year plan she didn't get to, but that's okay. One more thing we want to show you. If you could double click and go to Schoology. Go back. And the last thing is this forms page. This is a folder that's going to be important for you guys. This is a folder that's going to house a lot of documents you need. One thing, if you want to click that one you're just touching, is the PE waiver. If you are someone that is going to waive your PE because you are if you're on a sports team or you're in a marching band, you're going to want to fill this out. You could do it electronically. Some counselors prefer paper. Either case, you fill out the front, and then on the back page, next is you sign it, a parent or guardian signs it, and then a coach signs it just to say you're in the program, and then your counselor signs it. So if you could hit the back button, Ms. Georgiadis, this is where you're going to have a lot of documents are housed. Your counselor will explain that for you. What we're going to ask is that before you leave, you do have your course selection sheet filled out. Show it to your BAM, and then you can go to lunch. Ms. Georgiadis, is there anything you would like to add that we are missing?
No, that's all. Just make sure you bring this sheet to registration in the next few weeks, and we will see you soon.
All right. Again, finish this up. Show a BAM. You can maybe go to lunch 30 seconds early. And as always, and real quick, I forgot. If you are one of my students that is piloting the Google Classroom, I'm going to be sending out stuff in there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just ignore this last part. And as always, fight on. Have a good day.